Hi, everybody, wherever you may be, from coast to coast and sea to shining sea. Welcome back to your solar weather update. And this is a historic forecast. I hope you like it. This will cover from Wednesday, January the 11th, through Saturday, January the 14th. Let's get into it. First, the A1A is beautiful. This is a very good looking A1A, and we're still not to the peak of solar cycle 25 yet. And we're going to be in historic place here, very historic place possibly coming up this week. Magnetosphere view really shows how active the sun is. Take a look. Both in the northern hemisphere, you've got 4 sunspot regions, and in the south, you have 4 sunspot regions. Of course, we're going to lose 3183 and 3180 in the next couple of days, but there is more coming on the east limb. You take a look at the A1A, you can see the bright spots just coming into view on the far left side. Take a look around 10 and 8 p.m., and you'll see those bright flashes. That's what's coming our way, and they will, I think, do more than help get to 3183 and 3180 and cover for them. The coronal hole map looks fantastic. There's no coronal holes facing Earth. We have a good solar wind today, and we've had a very active sun over the last 3 days. Take a look. This has been outstanding. There's only 6 sunspot regions facing us, but look at the flares. X 1.9 and X 1.0, and you have 5 additional M flares that are there. This is a very historic time in our solar cycle 25 to really pay attention to the sun and just how big the SFI is getting to be. Global D-layer absorption, this is really important because it's wintertime, of course, here in the northern hemisphere, and folks in Australia like to work 40-meter daytime, so they work short distance. The problem is the global D-layer absorption day is pretty high when the sun is overhead or anywhere near the continent of Australia. Look at 7 megahertz. It's over 5 decibels. Well, it's basically about 5 decibels of attenuation. So folks down under, please pay attention. You're not going to hear everybody today. It's going to be a bit hard to hear some signals, but there'll be a lot to get through that are pretty powerful. Look at this SFI, 193. Smooth sunspot numbers up 59 to 201, and your area number is at 2180. That's only down 110. Now, based on these numbers and the look at how active the sun has remained today, even with a little bit of a dip in the baseline of the solar flare detection map there, going just a little low there on the sea area, but still giving us great numbers earlier today. I think this number is going to approach 200 by Friday. That I really do. I think it's going to be either Thursday or Friday. We may hit 200, and we're going to talk about how rare that is in just a moment. KP index looks great. It's quiet right now. Not too bad. KP2 plus right now, according to Space Weather Live. Solar wind 428.3 kilometers per second. It's decent. Good conditions. The BZ latitude, according to Space Weather now, the Space Weather Live app is 3.94 north, which is great. That will give some fade to the southern hemisphere and not so much in the north. But the problem is, you can see it's going north and south, and that's the way it will probably continue through Friday. So expect QSB both in the north and southern hemisphere at times. 3-day geomagnetic forecast, quiet noise floors. This is such a special time to work your radio, whether it be a shortwave or amateur radio. It is now, because we have waited over 20 years for conditions this good. QRZ conditions show SFI 193, sunspot number way up at 206. Again, these are big numbers. A index 6, K is 2. BZ latitude here is a minus 2.5. Solar wind was 392.2 kilometers per second when they showed this. And you may wonder why HF band conditions for 80 through 20 are poor. Because QRZ includes 30 meters with this, and that's, right about 10 megahertz, that's going to come across as poor. Now, 20-meter daytime is fantastic, so it wouldn't be poor for 20. It's going to be a little bit rough for 30, but not 20. And, of course, 80 through 40, there's a lot of attenuation going on right now, especially if the sun is anywhere overhead, like in the southern hemisphere. Of course, a lot of attenuation. So when we have the QRZ conditions, we're going to be looking at conditions that are going to be just a little bit poor for HF because there's a lot of attenuation in that D-layer. Geomagnetic field is quiet today. Signal to noise level S1 to S2. And look at that big number of MUF at US Boulder, 26.48. That number will rise throughout the day. EME degree for moon bouncers is fair, and 6, 4, and 2 meter E-skip today is closed. This is how historic these numbers are. Take a look. The last time we hit a solar flux index of 200 was literally in about February of 2002. I know it's hard to see. I did a lot of research on this morning. This would put us into solar cycle 23. So we're right now in that rarefied air with some fantastic conditions. Solar cycle 25 off to just such a great start. And these numbers should come up for the month of January once we get them rendered, because these numbers are just historic. Let's take a look at the Kilo Charlie 2 Golf map. This gives us an idea of the usable frequencies worldwide, and they haven't changed a whole lot. If you take a look where the mouse is here, where the arrow is, there's 10 meters at the peak, and that's just missing the area here of Alaska. So it's just south of Alaska. It's right about the area where the Yukon territories will meet, the Northwest Territories and so forth up in Canada. So right here is where 10 meters is in the north. If we move this all the way over, towards Europe, it's going to reach basically Scotland and probably the country of Denmark, a little bit of Sweden and Norway, the southern part. 10 meters should work fine all the way south into Africa for Europe. And here in the States, it's going to work mid-territories, I'd say, of Yukon and Northwest Territories, south into South America. These are great conditions. And look at Hawaii. Hawaii right now, 39 megahertz. These are great conditions. We've got over into the the Far East. The 10-meter band will work great into the islands of Japan. Shouldn't be a problem here. The problem will be if you're in the southern island of New Zealand or possibly Tasmania. 10 meters, not going to stretch quite that far south. Most likely going to be bisecting both the North and South Islands again of New Zealand and the mainland of Australia, right where Melbourne is. And between there and Tasmania, that will be the 10-meter line. 12 meters in the Tasmania area. And if you're in the southern island of New Zealand, possibly in Christchurch, somewhere around Dunedin, you're going to probably be on 12 meters today. But most of the world today should make the 10-meter band. Close look at the northern hemisphere here in the world, and this is a good example of just how well 10 is going. Expect 10 meters really well in Europe for the next day. I'd say probably through Friday. Southern parts of Scandinavia are going to get 10 and just work south into Africa, and as the day progresses into the States, down towards South America. Southern hemisphere conditions look fantastic. Of course, there's a little spot there of 12-meter band. It's a little bit into South America and Africa during the daytime, but nothing that stays forever. You're going to be able to work 10 if you're patient there. Again, Far East, these are numbers that were just a little earlier, should be able to work 10 meters between the continent of Australia and the North Island of New Zealand, and have excellent conditions up in Japan. Your ham and shortwave forecast for today through, this says Tuesday. However, we're going to make this through Saturday. Look at this. This is really historic. Been a long time since we've had numbers this good. Best solar conditions since 2002. No joke. That's the last time we've had this high of a solar number and SFI. Expect some QS Baker in both hemispheres at times. The BZ latitude will go negative and then positive. That'll mean QSB, when it's negative, it'll go to the northern hemisphere. There'll be QS Baker in the bands up north. And then when it points, to the northern hemisphere, you're going to have a little QS Baker in the south. So expect some fading in both hemispheres depending on just how tight that BZ latitude is. Also, quiet noise floors. This is a good time, perfect time to work your radio. SFI above 150, 3 days of KP index below 2 or less. Man, it doesn't get better than that, and we're close to 200 on SFI. Voice bands, Northern Hemisphere, 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10. If you're south of about 55 degrees north. Equatorial latitudes, 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10. Southern Hemisphere today, 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10. If you're north of about 40 degrees south latitude. 11-meter CB radio skip is open. Make the calls. They're there. If you're going to be on upper sideband on 38 or 39, man, just see how far you can work it. It's going to be great. Northern Hemisphere open today for data modes as well in the mid and southern latitudes. Good data mode conditions, 30 to 10 meters. So 30 to 10, wide open for some amazing FG8, FD4 calls. Tonight on your amateur radio band, and this will go through Saturday, QS Baker at times, noise floor is quiet below 10 megahertz. maybe S0 to S1 at times. That'd be good. Nighttime amateur radio band openings 160, 80, 60, 40, 30, and your best DX is on your maximum usable frequency at sunset. Then move on down. They got a little bit pulled off the screen because there's so much in this weather segment. Daytime shortwave listeners expect some fading at times, but this is the best solar flux index and solar numbers we've had since February of 2002. It's been 21 years almost since it's been this good. These conditions should go well through Saturday. So some good conditions. Sorry, it says Tuesday. It's going to be quiet noise floors, excellent solar flux index, a way that you can make some amazing receptions on shortwave. Daytime shortwave 31, 25, 22, 19, 15, and the 13 meter band. Nighttime shortwave expect some fading at times in both hemispheres. Quiet noise floors through Saturday. Shortwave nighttime 120, 90, 75, 60, 49, 41, 31, 25, 22. And the 19 meter band will be open in the south for about 3 hours after sunset. It will be open in the north for about an hour to an hour and a half after sunset. When we get SFIs this high, the ionosphere is very charged and can carry signals a very great distance. These are just fantastic conditions, my friends. SFI of 200. We still got time to work in solar cycle 25 to bring it up higher. I'll come back with a Full-Time Radio live show today. We're going to talk about if money was no object and you had the space to do it, what would you have in your shack and out in back, and why? Let's find out. Your dream shack. We'll talk about that today. Wherever you are in the world, God bless you. Turn that radio on. It's amazing conditions right now. We've waited a couple of decades to have conditions this good. Goodbye, everybody. God bless.